Hi there. We're going to be talking about percent today, and we're just starting the chapter on percent, and we're going to do an introduction and talk about circle graphs. One thing you're going to see in this section is that I'm going to be teaching with lots and lots of examples. So I do a little introduction to the topic, but then I mostly do examples for the rest of the time. So I'm going to start with understanding percent notation. So the word percent comes from the two words per and cent. So for every cent, or for every per 100. So cent, remember, is like a cent in a dollar. There's 100 cents in a dollar, so that's where what the word means. So think about the symbol. So this symbol basically is a fraction symbol. So we're talking about per 100, and that's what the two zeros kind of stand for in a strange way. So percent means out of 100 or divide by 100. Okay, so out of 100 or divide by 100. Okay, so some number out of 100 is the percent that you're going to get. All right, so just an example here. Out of 100 blocks here, 57 of them are colored in. So we're going to look at three different ways to write this. So out of 100, we have 57 out of 100 that are colored in. Another way that we can write that, remember when we divide by 100, we move the decimal place in the number over 2 places to the left. So this becomes 0.57. So that's another way to think about it. And that also means 57%. So make sure you're familiar with these three different ways to talk about percents. We're going to do all of them in the next few days. So we've got fractions, we've got decimals, and we just write it as a percent. They all mean the same thing. So you might want to take a look at this percent model in GeoGebra if you want to play around with percents and you're one of those people who likes to see it and play with it to understand it. So if you click on that link, you will get to this, and then you can play with putting parts in. So let's say we've got 34 out of a whole of 100, then you get 34%. You can also change the whole, then it's not quite as intuitive. So let's say it's 34 out of 70, and that's going to give you a percent of 48.57. So yeah, you can just play with that a little bit if you'd like. So the first topic we're going to look at is writing a percent as a fraction or a decimal. The first one we're going to do is writing it as a fraction in simplest form. So remember that a percent is just the number over 100. So to write it as a fraction, we're just going to do this first, and then we're going to simplify. To write it as a decimal, we just move the decimal point over 2 places to the left or divide by 100, whichever way you want to look at it. So we're going to start by writing percents as fractions. So I've got a few that I'm going to do first, and then I'll have some for you to try. So we're going to do example 1. 24% is written as 24 per 100. 24 per 100. So remember that 24 is 4 times 6, and 100 is 4 times 25. So the 4s are going to divide out, and you're going to get 6/25. So this is going from a percent to a fraction. All right, the next one is 120%. Don't let the over 100% throw you. Everything works just the same, and I see people make a lot of mistakes on these because it just seems strange to have more than 100%. But it's 120 out of 100, so it's more than 1. So if you're going to draw this, of course, as an area model, you would have 1 completely filled in. That would be your 100%, and then you would have, 20% filled in. That wasn't a very good 20%, but you get the idea. So that's the 20%. So there's the 100%, which is filled in, and the 20% for 120%. So going back to this fraction, we're going to reduce this. Both of these are divisible by 20. 20 times 6 and 20 times 5. And the 20s are going to divide out, and you're going to get 6/5. All right, the next one is 8.5%. So this is 8.5 per 100. And we don't really like decimals and fractions, so we need to take care of that. So we're going to say times 2 over 2. And that's going to give us 17/200ths. And then you would reduce that, but it doesn't reduce because this is a prime number, and it doesn't divide into 200. You can try it on your calculator, 200 divided by 17. It doesn't go in, so they don't have any similar factors. So you stop there. All right, so the next one is, all four of these are different kinds of problems. So you're seeing one of each kind of problem that you're going to see. So 66 2/3%, what you want to do is turn this into an improper fraction. So 66 times 3 plus 2 becomes 200/3. Okay, so if you don't remember how to do that, go and look at the fractions chapter and look at turning things into improper fractions. So now we kind of get this weird thing, because now we've got 200/3 divided by or per 100. But remember that per is just a divide sign, so remember that this line right here just means divide. So this means 200/3 divided by 100. In other words, 200/3 times 1/100. So now we've got 200/300, and the hundreds are just going to cancel out. So 200 is 2 times 100, and on the bottom we've got 3 times 100. The 100s divide out, and we just get 2/3. So 66 2/3 is 2/3. Okay, so now it's your turn to try it. Remember, as I've said before, math is not a spectator sport. You don't learn it by watching someone else do it. So try these 4 problems after you pause the video, and then come back and see what the answers are. Okay, so here's the answers to the problems. Take a look at what I've done in each case. I tried to use red when I divided out or when I multiplied by something. Notice that 39 is prime here, so this doesn't reduce anymore. And also on the last one, you need to change it to 16/3 per 100, and then the per 100 becomes times 1/100, so that you can begin dividing things out, and you get 4/75. Next, we're going to write percents as decimals, and this is oh so much easier. All you do is divide by 100, or if you remember back a ways in our semester, that just means moving the decimal place back 2 places. So left 2 places. I've got that right here in bold. So we've got 38%. So we're going to take the decimal point, which was here, and move it back 2 places to the beginning. So this becomes 0.38. And we usually try to put a 0 first because that's the placeholder. All right. For the 119%, the decimal point sits at the end of the number, so we go back 2 places, and it turns out that it's 1.19. So anything over 100% is not going to have a 0 at the beginning. All right, the next one is 2.9. I'm going to come down here and write 2.9, so I've got a little bigger space to work. And I'm going to take the decimal point where it sits and go back 2 places. I'm going to put it here, and that's going to give me a 0.029. So I'm going to put a 0 as a placeholder and then 0.029. All right, the next one has a fraction in it. So you need to think about what 1/4 is, and if you just put it in your calculator, you'll find that it's 0.25. So this number is 45.25. Okay, so the decimal point was here. So now we're going to go back 2 to here. So its new place is at the beginning before the 4. So now we get 0.4525. We no longer say percent. We've turned it into a decimal. So 38% is 0.38. 119% is 1.19. No percent sign. So make sure you've got that clear. All right, now it's going to be your turn to try it. So why don't you try these 4, which are very similar to the ones I just did. And then pause the video while you're working and come back when you're done. So the answers are listed here, and the work that I did is listed over here on the right, and in red I showed the decimal point moving back 2 places each time. And remember, you do not put a percent sign after you've changed it to a decimal. Okay, so now we're going to look at writing a fraction or decimal as a percent. So when you write a fraction or decimal as a percent, you need to multiply the decimal by 100%. They shortened this just a little bit, and I'm going to go into more detail about how to deal with fractions. So I'm going to do the decimals first, because they're the simplest. So remember, to write a decimal as a percent, you go the other way, you multiply by 100, which means move the decimal point 2 places to the right. Okay, so for this first one, we're going to move the decimal place 2 places, and it ends up right here. So we get 37, and now we get to put the percent on there. So going to decimal, you don't. Going from decimal to a percent, you do. So again, 0.9, I'm going to rewrite this one, so I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. 0.9, and I'm going to show the decimal point moving 2 places to the right. So this one becomes 90%. Okay. This one, I think I have enough space here, so I'll just move 2 places to the right, and we get 8.5%. And the last one, 1.77. So think about this one. This one has a number right here that's greater than 0. So this is going to be greater than 100%, or greater than 99%. So we're going to go over 2 places to the right, and we get 177%. 177%. So take a look at those, make sure you understand them, and we're going to move on to the triads. Okay, so here are the ones for you to try. Pause the video, give them a shot, and then come back and see if you got them right. Okay, so here's your answers. Take a look. They're all pretty straightforward. You just move the decimal point 2 places to the right and put in a 0 if you need one. So the next topic is writing fractions as percents. This one is 2 steps. You need to convert the fraction to a decimal first, so divide the top by the bottom. Then we're going to write the decimal as a percent, so multiply by 100, or move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So let's look at these problems. 2/5, all you have to do is put these in your calculator. You don't have to do them by hand. So 2/5 is 0.4. And then we're going to move the decimal point 2 places to the right. So we're going to go 1, 2. It moves to the right of the 0, so you need to put a 0 in. So you get 40%. So make sure your answers make sense. 2/5 is, about 40%. So 2 3/4, you're going to have to make that a mixed number. So you'll find that 3/4 is 0.75. Don't forget the 2 when you rewrite it, 2.75. And then you're going to move the decimal place 2 places to the right, and you're going to get 275%. All right, and then 5/6 is on your calculator is going to be 0.8333, and that's going to keep going. So you get 0.83 repeating. So we're just going to move the decimal point over 2 places, and the 3's are still repeating. So the best way to write that, the most accurate way to write it, is 83.3 repeating percent. Unless, of course, the problem tells you to round to the tenths place, which it would be 83.3. If you round to the hundredths place, it would be 83.33. With 6's, it's a different story. You've got to round up to 7, but these 3's don't cause you to have to round up. All right, so the next part is we're going to look at the ones for you to try. So pause the video, give these a shot, and come back and check your answers. Okay, so the first one just becomes 37.5%. The second one, 120%, because you get 1.2, move the decimal place over 2 places. And the last one is 0.16666 repeating, so you get 16.6%. That is approximately, if you wanted to round it to the hundredths place, so this is the hundredths place, or to the tenths place, it would round to a 7. Okay, so the next topic is reading circle graphs. So most people have seen circle graphs, so this may be familiar to you, but just imagine that the circle is split up into 100 parts. So those are each one is a percent. And then for 17%, they would shade 17 parts of that. So this circle graph, it does not show all of the 100 parts, but you can see the percentages of each one more visually with a circle graph, and a lot of people like circle graphs better than, say, rectangles. So we're going to use that for a lot of things. It's also called a pie chart. Okay, so this is what the problems are going to look like that you're going to see. This example is employees who work late, and we've got all the days of the week over here in the pie chart. Which days are employees most likely to work late and which are least likely? So it looks like employees who work late, so make sure you look at the heading up above to make sure you understand what they're trying to tell you. Monday's 41%, and that's the highest percentage of all the others, so I would say most likely to work late would be Monday, and least likely to work late would be the one with the smallest percent, which is Friday. I think that's fairly predictable. So Friday, they're least likely to work late. What fraction of the employees work late on Wednesdays? So Wednesday is 22%. So 22%, that is the correct answer, but it's not what you're being asked. You're being asked for the fraction. So you're going to convert this to 22 over 100, and then you're going to reduce that. So make sure you reduce, because my lab does not give partial credit. So make sure you do that. And so you're going to divide out the 2, and you're going to get 11/50ths. So 11/50ths of the employees work late on Wednesdays. So write the share of employees that work late on Tuesdays as a decimal. So this one is 19%, and they want it as a decimal, so that's going to be 0.19. Okay, so this last bit are the application problems that you're similar to what you'll see in your homework. So this first one is just saying, I'll give you a moment to read it, so take a moment and read this. And all they're asking is for us to write this decimal as a percent. So that's as hard as most of the problems I could find for this section got in the book. So you're going to take this and move it over 2 places. Going from a decimal to a percent, remember you move to the right, so 22.51% is the portion of online population that use Firefox. All right, the next one is the percent of people still working 10 to 14 years after an MS diagnosis is 16%, and they want to know what fraction this represents. So this is just a conversion problem. 16% is 16/100ths. 16/100ths, 16 has a 4 in it, and so does 100. So you could also use prime numbers to divide these out, but I find it faster to just find a common factor. So you get 4/25ths. That's the simplest form. All right, the last one is about gender. So a class with 30 students has 18 women. What percent are women? So you're just going to take 18 out of 30, part divided by whole, and we're going to look at that in the next section. Put it in your calculator and you get 0.6. Move the decimal point over 2 places and you get 60%. And that's it for this section.